My beloved child. Stop scrolling for just a moment, because this message did not arrive in your life by accident. Out of every story you could have chosen today, somehow you found this one. There is a reason your heart paused here. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Every sentence you are about to hear is connected to a letter that remained hidden for far longer than it should have. This is not simply a letter filled with words. It is a heart finally choosing honesty over silence. It is the story of someone who carried countless emotions without knowing whether they would ever have the courage to let them be seen. Before the first word was written, before the page was unfolded, before the pen ever touched the paper, there was a heart quietly whispering your name. Don't skip, because the beginning of this journey is only the first piece of something much greater. For a long time, the person you love believed silence was safer than honesty. Every day they smiled, spoke normally, and carried on as though everything inside them was perfectly calm. Yet every ordinary conversation ended with another sentence they wished they had spoken. Every goodbye became just a little harder than the one before. Every memory stayed with them longer than they wanted to admit. While the rest of the world continued moving forward, their thoughts kept returning to the same place, to you. They never expected one person could quietly become the center of so many unanswered questions. They wondered whether you had ever noticed the small moments they treasured, the conversations they replayed in their mind, or the smiles they remembered long after everyone else had forgotten them. Those moments became the invisible pages of a letter that had not yet been written. One peaceful evening, everything changed. The room around them was completely silent. The sunlight slowly disappeared beyond the window, and the sky became filled with soft evening colors. A blank sheet of paper rested on the table in front of them. For several minutes they simply looked at it, unable to write a single word. Their heart was full, but their hands refused to move. They picked up the pen, lowered it to the page, then stopped again. They wondered whether these words should remain hidden forever. They asked themselves if honesty would change everything or if it would change nothing at all. The silence in the room felt louder than any voice they had ever heard. Then, after one deep breath, they finally allowed the first sentence to appear. The first line was simple, yet it carried more emotion than an entire conversation. If these words ever reach you, I hope they find you smiling. They stared at that single sentence for a long time. It did not seem dramatic. It was not filled with grand promises. Yet somehow it felt completely true. They realized the strongest feelings are often expressed through the quietest words. They smiled gently, knowing there was no longer any reason to pretend that their heart had nothing to say. That single sentence opened a door that had remained closed for far too long. One line became another. One memory became another paragraph. One hidden feeling slowly became a story that could no longer stay locked away. Don't skip, because the next part of the letter becomes even more personal. Every new sentence carried a memory connected to you. They remembered the very first time your kindness caught their attention. They remembered moments you probably considered ordinary but which quietly became unforgettable to them. They remembered laughter that stayed with them long after the conversation had ended. They remembered simple words of encouragement that gave them strength on difficult days without you ever realizing it. They discovered that love is rarely built from dramatic moments. Instead, it grows quietly through ordinary days, thoughtful gestures, gentle conversations, and small acts of kindness that slowly become impossible to forget. Those tiny moments filled page after page until the blank paper no longer looked empty. It looked like a heart finally speaking without fear. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. As the letter continued, they realized they were no longer writing just for themselves. Every sentence became a bridge between two hearts separated only by unspoken words. They no longer cared about finding perfect sentences. They only wanted honest ones. The fear that had followed them for so long slowly disappeared with every paragraph they completed. They finally understood that silence may protect feelings for a while, but honesty allows those feelings to breathe. The more they wrote, the lighter their heart became. For the first time in a very long time, they felt peace instead of uncertainty. The letter was no longer simply a page covered with ink. It had become the voice they had searched for during countless quiet nights. Near the bottom of the page, they paused once more before writing another sentence that would change everything. Their hand trembled slightly as they carefully wrote, "If I waited any longer, my silence would become the biggest regret of my story." After reading those words back to themselves, they closed their eyes for a moment and smiled. They knew there was no turning back. The truth had finally been written. Yet as they slowly turned the page, another blank sheet waited before them. What remained unsaid was even greater than everything already written. The next page held a revelation they had protected for far too long, a truth they had never shared with anyone, and the moment they decided to write it, everything they believed about the future began to change forever. My beloved child. The moment the page turned, the room became quieter than before. It was as if every distraction had disappeared, leaving only the sound of a hopeful heart finally speaking without hesitation. The person you love rested the pen gently against the paper and whispered to themselves, "This next part cannot remain hidden any longer." They knew these words would reveal more than memories. They would reveal the truth they had protected for so long. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Every sentence from this point forward carries a piece of the story they never found the courage to say face to face. Don't skip, because the next lines change the meaning of everything you have heard so far. They slowly began writing again. There were days when I wanted to tell you everything, but I convinced myself that silence was the safer choice. I believed time would somehow speak for me. I hoped you would understand the feelings I never explained. But every passing day taught me something important. Hearts are not meant to remain silent forever. They are meant to be honest. That is why I am finally writing this letter. Not because I have perfect words, but because I finally have enough courage to stop hiding them. The letter continued to unfold one thoughtful sentence after another. You may never have noticed how often I remembered our smallest conversations. You may never have realized how many ordinary moments quietly became extraordinary memories for me. A smile that lasted only a few seconds stayed with me for days. A kind sentence became encouragement whenever life felt uncertain. Even the moments that seemed completely ordinary carried a meaning that only my heart understood. I never expected simple memories to become the brightest chapters of my story, yet somehow they did. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The writer paused for a moment before continuing. Their eyes filled with quiet hope as another paragraph slowly appeared across the page. I stopped measuring life by calendars and started measuring it by memories. I remembered the days we laughed, the conversations that made time disappear, and even the moments when nothing important seemed to happen at all. Looking back now, I realize those ordinary moments became the foundation of everything I feel today. They taught me that genuine affection grows quietly. It doesn't rush. It doesn't demand attention. It simply becomes stronger every single day. Another page slowly filled with careful handwriting. There is something I have never admitted, even to myself. Whenever something wonderful happened, I found myself wondering how I would tell you about it. Whenever I faced uncertainty, I imagined what your encouragement would sound like. Somehow, without realizing it, your presence became part of my everyday thoughts. You never asked for that place in my heart, yet somehow you found it anyway. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The words became even more personal. I once believed I needed the perfect moment before sharing my heart. I waited for tomorrow, then another tomorrow, and then another. Eventually I realized there is no perfect moment. There is only the choice to be honest. Today I choose honesty. Today I choose gratitude. Today I choose to stop allowing silence to write my story for me. For the first time since beginning the letter, they smiled with complete peace. The fear that had followed them for so long quietly disappeared. Every sentence felt lighter than the last because every sentence carried truth instead of hesitation. The page no longer looked like paper. It looked like years of unspoken emotions finally finding their voice. Don't skip. Because what comes next is something they never imagined they would have the courage to write. The writer carefully turned another page and placed the pen against the paper once again. They remained completely still for several moments before writing a single sentence that changed everything. I have never shared this with anyone before. Those words stood alone in the center of the page. Nothing before them. Nothing after them. Just one quiet confession waiting to be understood. The room felt completely still as they looked at those words. They knew the next paragraph would reveal the deepest part of the letter, the truth they had carried longer than anyone could imagine. It was not a dramatic secret. It was something even more meaningful. It was the honest answer to a question they had asked themselves countless times. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. With calm hands and a peaceful heart, they began writing again. Every word came naturally now, without hesitation, without fear, and without looking back. The final pages were no longer about wondering what might happen. They were about finally revealing what had always been true. And as the next sentence appeared across the page, it became clear that the greatest revelation of the entire letter was only beginning to unfold. My beloved child. There are moments that quietly change everything, and this was one of them. The writer looked at the unfinished letter and realized that every page so far had only been preparing for what came next. Their heart was no longer asking whether these words should be written. It was asking only one question: will these words finally reach the person they were always meant for? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Don't skip, because the next part of this letter holds the one truth they have carried through countless quiet mornings and peaceful nights. The pen touched the paper once again, and this time the words arrived without hesitation. If you are reading this, then you deserve complete honesty. I no longer want to hide behind silence or unfinished conversations. There is something I have wanted to tell you for longer than I can remember. Every time I tried to find the right moment, life moved faster than my courage. Every time I believed tomorrow would be easier, tomorrow became another day of waiting. I finally understand that some feelings are too valuable to leave unspoken. The letter continued, and every sentence felt more sincere than the last. You probably never realized how often your kindness stayed with me after we went our separate ways. There were ordinary days that became extraordinary simply because I remembered something you once said. There were moments when I found myself smiling for no obvious reason, only to realize that my thoughts had quietly returned to you again. I never planned for this to happen. My heart simply chose a direction before I even noticed it was moving. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The writer paused, looked at the page, and gently smiled before continuing. People often believe that the biggest moments in life arrive with great excitement, but I discovered something different. The greatest moments arrive quietly. They appear in simple conversations, thoughtful gestures, peaceful smiles, and memories that refuse to fade. Looking back now, I understand that every ordinary moment we shared became part of a story I never wanted to end. Those memories did not disappear with time. They became stronger, clearer, and more meaningful than I ever imagined. The next paragraph carried a quiet confession. There were days when I wondered if our paths had crossed for a reason beyond coincidence. I never found a perfect answer, but I found something even more valuable. I found gratitude. Gratitude for every conversation, every shared smile, every encouraging word, and every unforgettable memory. Those moments taught me that the most meaningful connections are often built slowly, one small memory at a time. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The handwriting became steadier as the letter reached its most heartfelt pages. I finally realized that I wasn't holding on to the past. I was holding on to something timeless. Every memory reminded me not of what had been lost, but of what had quietly become part of who I am. Whenever life became uncertain, I remembered your kindness. Whenever hope seemed distant, I remembered your encouragement. You became a quiet reminder that genuine goodness still exists in this world, and that realization changed more than you could ever imagine. For a long moment, the writer placed the pen down and simply looked at everything that had already been written. The pages no longer felt like a collection of sentences. They felt like a journey from silence to honesty. Every paragraph carried a piece of the heart that had once been hidden behind hesitation. There was no fear left now. Only peace. Don't skip. Because the next lines reveal the one thought they protected longer than anything else. The pen returned to the page one final time before another unforgettable paragraph appeared. If there is one truth I never want to leave unsaid, it is this. You changed my life without even realizing it. Not through grand promises or extraordinary moments, but through your character, your kindness, your patience, and the way you treated people with genuine care. Those qualities stayed with me long after every conversation ended. They reminded me that some people leave footprints not on the road behind us, but inside our hearts. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The writer slowly folded one completed page and reached for the final blank sheet resting beside it. Their heart was calm, their hands were steady, and their smile carried a quiet confidence that had never existed before. Everything written until now had been leading toward one final revelation, a sentence so deeply personal that it had remained unwritten for years. They looked at the empty page, took one slow breath, and whispered softly, "Now it is finally time." As the pen touched the paper once more, the greatest words of the entire letter began to appear, and they would change the meaning of every page that came before them.